Well, hello everyone. This is National Sales Director Leah Laughlin, and welcome to our video on mastering the 60-40 split. Okay, so regardless of the reason you started your Mary Kay business, I'm gonna just take a wild guess and guess that you probably would like to make some income. Even if that's not your primary motivation for working your Mary Kay business, I'm gonna guess that some extra income would bless you and bless your family and provide for you and provide for your family. And so mastering the 60-40 split is really about helping you not really to make money, because that's the easy part. This product sells itself. You can just walk out with your Mary Kay face on and sell something to someone who likes your lipstick color. Okay, selling the product and making an income from our 50% profit that we can earn on the sale of this product, that's not the hard part. Sometimes the more challenging piece of making an income in Mary Kay is what to do with it when you bring it in. And so that's what the 60-40 split teaches you to do, because you know how money can like disappear sometimes. You have cash in your wallet and all of a sudden you go to open it up, you're like, where did it all go? I don't even know. And so money has a way of like slipping through our fingers sometimes. Same with your Mary Kay business. But when you know where to put it and where to tell it to live, and when you know what to tell it to do, then it grows. And so that's what we wanted to do for you. And I think understanding the 60-40 split and what to do with the money that you bring in is just as important as bringing the money in by selling the product. Okay, so we're really going to dig into this. As a brand new consultant, I learned from Linda Tupin that there are 3 things that can sink a consultant faster than anything else, and it's poor time management, poor attitude management, and poor money management. And so it's not that you can't make a lot of money in Mary Kay. Another national sales director, Cindy Williams, said that you're starving in an orchard if you're not making a lot of money in Mary Kay. So it's not that you can't make money. Really, the question is, what do you do with the money that you bring in? And it can be mismanaged and embezzled, and can create that feeling of like, where's all my Mary Kay money? I'm not making any money in Mary Kay. Or it can be managed well, wealth and income and choices for your family that can bless you now and for years to come. Okay, so let's choose that option. Let's bring it in and tell it where to live and what to do and where to go. So it creates wealth and income, financial stability, financial peace, and blesses you and your family for years to come. What savvy business owner does not have a plan, profits and revenue, and have a plan of what to do to cover expenses and overhead? We would be to hear if any CEO or owner of a company to manage their books or manage their profit or manage their overhead. Be like, what are they doing in business anyways? Okay, so we're not an exception to that. And the 60-40 split helps you to be savvy with your money, which creates more of it, okay? Zig Ziglar, he's got this great quote. He says, people who say they're not money motivated or motivated by money will lie about other things too. I read that in some book that he wrote, and I started laughing out loud because I realized that primary motivation. But let's be honest, you guys, money touches every single part of our life. We make choices every day about what to do or not to do with our money. There's no living in this world without money. There's just not. There's no providing for your children or creating security and without an income. And so let's get motivated about money, even if that's not your primary motivation. Let's get motivated on how to manage it and how to create more and how to be good stewards of what we've been provided with this amazing Mary Kay opportunity. Stewards of it. And a big part of that is knowing how to manage your money, okay? So here's how we're going to start. We're going to start with understanding just what the 60-40 split is, and just the concepts of it, and why it's 60-40, and why we break it down like that. Okay, so let's just understand the concepts of the 60/40, and then we're going to go work with a tool that will help you to track it. I'll just have a moment of true confessions here. I understood it as a director, but the complicated part that was often just frustrating and hard to manage was just how to keep track of those numbers. Okay, so we're going to give you a tool on how to do that. And then we're going to go through some sort of mock examples of how you can create a business plan, essentially, where you set individual goals and of activity and a time frame of execution that you are going to achieve those goals. And they are directly related to bringing in an income and tracking it through the 60/40 split. So let's jump in and do that right now. And we're going to do a little bit of screen sharing because I think it makes it easier to look at some documents that I'm referring to. They're both on my website at lealaughlin.com. Okay, let me find my place here, you guys. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let me actually, before we look at the document, let me say a couple more things about the 60/40 split. One thing you're going to hear me probably say a lot on this hangout is that it's an art, not a science. And so sometimes things don't like work out to the penny, okay? You may set some certain expenses and you have an excess, okay? So things don't always just come down to the penny. So it's an art, not a science. And so for some personality styles, you're cool with that. For other personality styles, it might cause you some anxiety. And so just know that we work with a lot of averages to explain this and teach this. And everybody has a very different situation and a lot of different variables that can go into that affect different numbers when it comes down to how we divide them up. Okay, so just know it's an art. It's an art, not a science. Okay, so don't get your panties in a wad if things aren't like working out to the penny. Also, I've already mentioned this, but I want to say it again. I'm going to work with a lot of averages on the tools that I'm going to show you and talk about a lot of averages because it's an easy way to present the content. But just know that every consultant and director selling this product has many, many variables which affect her results and her numbers and her averages. Skill level is a big one. Going to be a big difference in skill level between the brand new consultant who just started Mary Kay yesterday and the seasoned consultant who's been working on her skills for years. Okay, that seasoned consultant is more likely to go to a party and sell, X amount of than that brand new consultant who still hasn't developed her skills yet. So skill level is strongly numbers that you see in your averages, of course. The other thing is a level of inventory really affects what happens with the 60/40 split and where money goes and how much is left over. So we're really going to talk about inventory on hand, how to build it, and also how to pay off your investment if you made one. Size of your customer base, that's another variable. Somebody who's been in Mary Kay for years, who's established a solid customer base, can often start a consultant just through reorders and not holding any parties. Whereas a new consultant is going to need to hold more parties to sell to be a star. Okay, so that's another variable that's going to come up as we go through this information. Okay, so let's start with a worksheet or a document that I think helps to describe the 60/40 split well, just so we can understand what these numbers are. And so let me make sure everyone can see this. Okay, wonderful. So the 60/40 split, the perfect program. Now in the Unleashed National area and in my unit and in the Epic family, we have this program that tracks the number of parties that you have. And so you'll see them broken down right here. There's a level of 4, 6, 8, and 12, and it breaks down the number of parties you're holding and the average retail that you're selling. Remember, we're working with a lot of averages. So 4 parties is an average of 800 retail. 6 parties is an average of 1,200. 8 parties is an average of 1,600, and 12 parties is an average of 2,400. So that is based on selling an average of 200 per party, which is a pretty consistent average that most people can count on, okay? Working in the target market. And that's about 60, if you have 3 people there, that's about 67 face, which is a pretty average sales per face. And so we're going to talk about how this kind of breaks down here. So let's understand the 60-40 split. Let's start with the 40%. Is your profit left over. Okay, and that's going to go into a separate account than the rest of your okay, so remember, 40% is your profit or what's left over. Now, when I have taught on this before, here's something that comes up. Oh, I thought we made a 50% profit. Here is my response to that. We absolutely do. We make a 50% profit. We just happen to teach you and train you as a consultant or a director to use part of your profit. Okay, and that's what we are going to teach you in the 60-40 split, that 10% of the money that you're bringing in is going to be set aside to cover your overhead and your expenses and to just run. And isn't that encouraging? Isn't that encouraging that there's a plan for that? And that you don't have to use your personal money to cover your expenses, and that the business keeps the business running. And this is not just true for Mary Kay, my friends. This is true for every business that's ever existed across the board. I don't know that there's one business that exists that doesn't have overhead and expenses. And how wonderful to be able to set aside money for your expenses and still have money left over. Many businesses operate for years without having money left over because the profits are going towards paying down the investment or covering the overhead. Business is years to see a profit. That's a nice advantage in Mary Kay. We can see it right away, covering our expenses. We're telling you 40% is your profit or what's left over, and it's going to go into a Mary Kay checking or a separate savings account. And we're going to talk about your separate accounts in just a minute. What you do with this profit depends on a couple of things, and those things would be the level of inventory that you have on hand and your financial goals. Here are some things, a few things, although not all things, but a few things you can do with that 40% is pay for your inventory investment that you've already made, reinvest to build your inventory, and then personal fund money or savings or just money for your family, what your needs are. Okay, so that's 40%. Let's move on to 60%. 60% again goes into a separate account. So we are keeping these amounts separate, the 40 and the 60. Of the 60, automatically reinvested. That means that what you sell, what moves on your shelf, you put back onto your shelf. So let's talk about this, because every now and then I hear a consultant say this: get rid of all my inventory. I just want to sell it all. And I'm always a little flabbergasted when I hear that. And I'm like, do you mean just like sell it all? Like to get rid of it? Yeah, I just want to move it off my shelf. And that's great that we want to sell it. But you guys, tell business. What if Walmart waited till all their shelves were bare for trucks to show up? You guys, they'd be out of business overnight. What if you went into McDonald's and they were just waiting for customers to arrive and tell them what they wanted to order before they stocked the restaurant with hamburgers and fries and everything that was on the menu? Can you imagine? So we are a retail business too. And people buy what they can see. People will purchase what they can take home with them. Been different seasons of my business that I've let my inventory dwindle. And you guys, inevitably, parties, someone will ask, do you have this or that or this or that on hand? And you guys, if I could not answer yes, times out of 10, I would lose the sale on the spot. It would be like, oh, never mind, I'll get it next time. On the spot, if they couldn't see it and touch it and walk out the door with it. Term, because I mean, that's profits that you could have had. That's a happy, satisfied customer with a brand new product she can enjoy and love. The door to that opportunity closed because she couldn't have it right then and there. And so we restock what we sell because we want to have products on hand. And if you're really in Mary Kay, like if you're in it to win it, and you want this to be a source of income for you for as long as possible. And let me say, you don't have to even have to move up the career path and team build, make money in Mary Kay. Clear. This is your part-time gig, side hustle for years, for the rest of your life. And it could be such a great source of income for you to come, even if the only thing you ever want to do is sell the product, even if you have no interest in moving up. Now, if you do have an interest in moving up in team building, then that's a whole nother story. And the level of income you can make when you do that is just that's a whole nother ball game. But if really at the minimum, you just want to sell this product and enjoy extra cash from selling this product, you can do that. Business like a business. And part of treating this business like a business is having the product that we sell and using it personally. Always reorder what we sell. We call it embezzling when you don't do that. When you take all of your, let's say you go to a party and sell 200 and you take all that 200 and just spend it on, I don't know, whatever you spend it on, you are embezzling your business and putting your business in danger. And it's just not sustainable. Your business is not sustainable when you operate like that. You can only embezzle for so long until you're out of business. And so don't put yourself out of business by doing that. Reorder 50% of what you sell. And then you have 10% to cover your expenses. 10, 60%. Okay, so 50% to reinvest. That, keeping your inventory stocked to provide the best customer service. Now, for 10% expenses, let's talk about this for a minute. I personally like to divide them into 5%. 5% to cover shipping in Section 2. You will pay for shipping in Section 2 in your reorder. Those funds are leaving your account in one transaction. Your 50% reorder to restock what you've sold, and your 5% to cover shipping in Section 2. That reason, we keep that all together in one account. The 50% plus this 5%. I think best practice other 5% into a separate account. You don't have to, it's not absolutely imperative, but actually I think it is imperative. I think it is really important to keep this separate because often whatever's in a bank account, it's like a race to zero. If you have money there, you're racing to zero and spending it and using it. If it's available, it's just much easier to spend. So if we see this in a separate account, we're more likely to manage it well. It just keeps us organized. Okay, so these 5% to cover additional expenses are for things like PCP that rolls around once a quarter. You renew that once a year. You've got business cards and supplies. You've got your website to renew, and you have Mary Kay events to attend. Now, sales directors, you have additional expenses on top of this, but I'm just talking about expenses really related to running a customer base and managing the sale of the product to your customers. We're going to cover director expenses in a different. This is just really expenses you have connected to the product and building a customer base. And it's nice to have this in a separate account, because then you get to build it up. So you put $5 a month into this account. So when PCP rolls around, which is only once a quarter, the money is sitting in there and available and ready. And you don't miss PCP because you don't have the extra money. And when these other things roll around, events roll around, you've got cash sitting in there ready to get registered on the day registration opens. So I just did a little mock example of average expenses for a wholesale order. That's a pretty average order in Mary Kay for a consultant who is selling to some customers, even a smaller customer base. And so your average sales are $1,200 retail, and you reorder half of that, which is $600 wholesale, and your expenses are about $120 a month. Them broken down into these amounts. And again, this is just an average and an example, but I wanted to use real numbers so you could see how this would break down. Okay? And we're going to look at a little chart that shows you the flow of the money, because where people get confused with this is just the separate accounts. And so we're going to bring some clarity to that in just a minute by showing you a kind of a flow chart. Okay? So let's go on to this page, the 60-40 split for each level of the Perfect 12 program. Remember, this is just a program that pivoting to how many parties you're having per week. And I just wanted you guys to see an example of what that would look like. If you're having 4 parties a month, here's how your numbers are breaking down. 40% of what's left over. So you can anticipate having $320, and your reorder is going to be $400 wholesale, and you're going to be setting aside $80 to cover your expenses. So it just gives you an example, and I won't go through all these numbers, but you can at least see what the 60-40 split looks like in numbers based on your activity. So now this section is titled Pay Down Your Investment. I really need to update that. Make a business plan or set some goals, because I know not everybody is paying down an investment. I know some of you didn't invest anything and you need to build your inventory. I know some of you have done this a long time ago and you're taking more of a profit. And so I wish this said, let's make a plan, sister, of how to really maximize your earning potential in your Mary Kay business. Here's some questions and examples, but I don't think we need to look at the sheet anymore. I'm going to bring you back to me, and we're going to go through just a couple of examples just to help you understand it. Okay, so this is where you really put like your numbers thinking cap on, and grab a calculator and grab a pen and piece of paper. It would be helpful to write some of these down. It's not complicated math, but I know when I start spinning off a bunch of numbers, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, or it's hard to track and follow unless you're using a calculator and pen and paper. So if you can do that right now, that would be helpful to the learning. Oh goodness, I lost my place again. Okay. Okay, here we go. So we want you to have a plan and have a very clear, like if you don't know where you're going, you'll get there every time. I mean, there are so many quotes about goals and the value of goals and the importance of goals and how achieve more. You could do the same activity and actually achieve more when goals are written down and you have a clear plan. And so that's what we're going to help you to do. So I want to start with just a mock example of you needing to pay down an investment. Started with some inventory and you used a loan, or maybe you borrowed the money from a savings account and you're paying yourself back or someone else back, or maybe you got a 0% credit card and you want to pay down your inventory investment. I'm going to help you make a plan, a really clear plan to actually do that. We'll break down into a weekly activity goal. And so let me just share with you, like real briefly, my story. As a new consultant, my recruiter, Tina, who recruited me, she had started a couple of months before me. And so I was kind of watching her go through the process of getting started. And I remember one day she told me that she had invested $600 in her inventory. I was like shocked. I was like, you what? Like, really? You paid $600? Like, on Mary Kay makeup? And that just sounded like $1 million to me. And it sort of triggered a thought, like, if I have to invest in $600, I'm out. Because at that time I was kind of considering it and had some level of interest in the business opportunity at that point. But to hear her say she invested $600, surprising to me, and was very kind of a turnoff. And so, long story short, maybe a month or two later, I started my Mary Kay business with no intention to get inventory. I knew she had invested $600. I wasn't going to do any of that. I was just going to see how it goes. Don't you love that when people say that? I'm just going to see how it goes. Well, good luck to you if you don't have inventory. And so I had no intention to get inventory. And then I listened to next steps. And it was about inventory options. And it just educated me on the kind of business Mary Kay is, a retail business. It educated me on the value of having product on hand and how I could sell more and be more profitable. It educated me on the time I would save from not having to run around town delivering products and pay extra shipping to ship them, and just the time and energy that takes. And so I came in with a $2,400 inventory on a 0% card that was 0% for 6 months. So I went from saying, absolutely not, I'm not getting any inventory, $600 sounds like $1 million to me, to making a $2,400 investment on a 0% credit card, because I got the information I needed, okay? When I heard Tina ordered 600, I didn't have all the necessary information at that point. Choice was like, no, I'm not spending $600 on makeup. But when I got the information that I needed and got educated on the business, then it made perfect sense to me. And I think I would have actually gotten the $3,000 level, but I think my credit card was for $3,000 at that time. So I got that inventory, had products on hand. About a month or two later, got another like $2,500. Because I saw, even though I had $2,400 on hand, I was still going to parties and not having everything, and I was selling out of things really quickly. So I saw almost immediately the value of having a full store, full inventory. And so I got another $2,500. So within a couple of months of starting my business, I had about 5,000 wholesale, give or take, on my shelf on a 0% credit card, which I paid off in 6 months. And I paid it off. My husband was not, I don't know. I wish I could go back and be a fly on the wall at those conversations, because I don't fully remember what we talked about, but he was not super excited about it. But also he trusted me. It's Mary Kay, not because he had any reason not to, just because he was very unfamiliar with it. And so it's not like he was like, yes, you can do this, you're going to earn a free car. He was not a big cheerleader and was not a full believer in Mary Kay, but he believed in me and he trusted me to do what I said I was going to do. I was going to pay it off. And so he said, okay, you better pay it off. And I said, okay, I will. And it was my first big goal in Mary Kay, was to pay off my inventory. And I sort of had the mindset that, well, if that's all I'll do, if that's all I do for me, to just pay off my inventory. And I knew if I was going to give this thing a shot, this Mary Kay thing a try, the best shot that I could. And once I got educated on how the business works, I knew that having products on hand was the way to give it the best shot that I could. And so that's what I did. And then here's how I paid it down. I took the total amount on my credit card, the total balance, and I divided it into weeks. Payments you guys make on your credit cards? No, 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 my friends. This minimum amount that they show you, minimum payment, $10. Yay! No, that's not how we do it. Okay, we take the total balance and we divide it by the weeks that it's 0%, or want to have it paid off, or however the time frame, whatever time frame you need to pay it down in, you do it by week. And I remember every Sunday night as a consultant, I would log into my online, and it was connected to my Mary Kay checking, and I would pay that amount. And it was a fairly small amount that I would pay. So I liked seeing the smaller number than if I would have done it monthly. Monthly, it's not as small of a number. So I like seeing a smaller number. And I had a really clear weekly focus, like crystal clear. I knew I had to sell X amount to be able to do this, this, and this with my Mary Kay money. And one of those things, one of those thises was card off. And so that's what I did, and had it paid off in 6 months. Never paid any interest on that credit card, and never used a dime of my own personal money to invest in my business. I kept those things totally, totally separate. And so I tell you that story just to give you an example and to show you that all of things. First of all, that it's possible to have a full inventory and pay it off very quickly. Again, it takes most businesses years and years to be profitable. You guys, I paid off a full investment in 6 months, and I was doing it very part-time on top of teaching full-time, holding anywhere from 1 to 3 parties a week within that 6-month time frame. Side hustle, my part-time gig while teaching full-time. Okay. About that is that if you make an investment, if you have, or you're thinking about it, you've got to take personal responsibility for it, which means that you got to sell it, and you got to hold parties and build your customer base. I've seen a few people in my 10 years of Mary Kay start with inventory, sit there, and expect it to like sell somehow magically. Hey, oh, I just couldn't sell it. This Mary Kay thing doesn't work. I need to return this product, or, whatever. And I'm like, wait. Is it that Mary Kay doesn't work, or that you didn't work? Because what I'm hearing is you didn't do anything with your business. That's what I'm hearing, is that you didn't hold parties. That's the whole plan of Mary Kay, is that you would get in front of people and share the product so that you can build a customer base. And so, or if you have, take responsibility for that. Like, woman up, my friends, and go out there and sell it, or 2 or 3. Follow up with your customers. Wear the product yourself so you're constantly advertising it. Okay, we've got to take responsibility for our choices. And when you chose or will choose to invest in inventory, you gotta own that to pay off and take responsibility for. Another thing I want to share on hand is the motivation level and the positive pressure that created in my world. And I think there would have been and could have been moments I could have easily thrown in the towel in my first 6 months in Mary Kay if you would have taken that motivation away. Pressure, if you would have taken that away, there would have been more days than not that it would have been like, what's the point? I mean, I was teaching full-time in my first year of teaching. We were newly married, Cliff and I were, and just had a lot on my plate, and I wasn't all in for Mary Kay at that time. I think I was trying out. And so it's not like I had this like committed, decided heart that Mary Kay was my future and my vision. No, I did not have that at all in my first 6 months or so. That didn't come till later. And so there were more days than Mary Kay was just kind of this side thing that was like, do I really want to book that party? Do I really want to do this? And um, how much time I wanted to invest, and felt pretty maxed out anyways with my teaching career. But you know what motivated me was that credit card and that inventory sitting there in my apartment and in my car. I'm like, well, I better sell it. There it is. And I saw it every day. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't see it. And remember, out of sight, out of mind. If I didn't see it, I would have taken away that level of motivation and the pressure. And sometimes we need pressure. I think pressure is good sometimes, a little positive pressure to get us into action and into motion. I think that's another strong benefit of having inventory. When you take that natural positive pressure away, it's like, oh, why book the party? I'll start all over next month. I'll do this another time. You don't have that pressure, okay? So that's my little story with how I started with inventory. So let's go through some examples, okay? So let's say, oh goodness, I keep losing my place here on my iPad. Okay, here we go. Let's say and these are just random examples, you guys, and I picked easy numbers so it'd be easier to follow. Let's say you want to pay off $1,000 on an investment, and you put it on a credit card or borrowed it from yourself, or however you got the money. You want to pay back $1,000 on a credit card. Okay, so we've got our number. Now let's put a time frame around it. Let's do it in 90 days. I'm going to pay off $1,000. So if you take $1,000 divided by 90 days or 13 weeks, that's $77 a week that you would need to pay to eliminate that investment. But here's the deal. You can't just sell 77 a week and be able to do that, because there's other things you need to be doing with the profit that you bring in. 40 split. There's multiple things that are happening with money, not just paying down the investment. So if you would need to pay, let's say $77 on a 0% card every single week for the next 13 weeks to pay off a $1,000 investment in 90 days, would need to at least % left over. Remember, our 40% profit, or what's left over, would need to be 77 would need to be that 40%, so that you can still reorder 50%. You're reordering what you're selling and putting yourself out of business, and you're still setting aside 10% for your expenses. So to do that, you would actually need to sell 192 retail to be able to reorder 50%, is 96, put aside 10% for expenses, 92 is $19, 40% left over, dollars that you're paying on your credit card every single week. Now, if you want or need to do more with the money, let's say you need to some bills, or you're saving for a vacation, or whatever. You want or need to have more left over than just 77. You need to sell more. And that just depends on how much more you want to have left over. Okay? But selling 192 retail per week is going to allow you to reorder, save for expenses, and pay down your investment, which will be gone in 90 days. So let's break that up. Let's break that down into activity. How many parties would you need to hold to sell 192 retail? And so that depends on you and your average sales. But I'm going to say, and pretty confidently say, that 1 week is going to guarantee it for most people. Probably overshoot it for most people, but I'm just being conservative. I'm just saying conservatively, for most people out there, regardless of your skill level, holding 1, maybe 2 parties a week is going to guarantee that you're at least bringing in 192 retail. Some of you could bring in 192 retail and just reorders without holding any parties. Some of you could hold a couple facials. Some of you would be a party and maybe a facial or two. Okay, so it just depends on you and your averages. Is that not encouraging to know that I'm pretty minimum activity, you guys? I mean, one party a week is 5 hours of time invested, and that's to do everything, even including customer follow-up, even probably get to your weekly meeting and hold the party and do customer follow-up. 5 hours a week invested, you can have no that investment in 90 days. And then what gets exciting is that you no longer have that investment, and then you're taking just purely profit. And over those 90 days, you built your customer base a lot from the people that you sold to by consistently holding a party a week. Let's go through another example. Let's say you want to build your inventory. Maybe you're in a position where you couldn't invest, but you want to build. And I do believe that although maybe not everyone can start with a full store, I know that's not realistic for everyone. I do believe everyone can build to a full store. And that's absolutely realistic. And remember, we want this to be sustainable income for our family now and in the future. And a part of building something that's sustainable is having a full inventory in your home. And now I will say a full inventory is about 4,000 wholesale, give or take. Okay, but it's different depending on a couple of things: how much you're in the field, and what your skill level is, and how many customers you have. And so I think for a newer consultant, around 4,000 is adequate. For a seasoned, selling, skilled director who's in the field a lot, that would not be adequate at all. There have been seasons in my directorship that I was in the field so much that I had more like 10,000 wholesale on my shelf. And that was a full inventory for me. And if I tried to manage my business and my sales with anything less than that, it would have been in chaos. And so your inventory is based on a lot of different things, but for the average, maybe newer person, about is gonna do it for you. So let's say you have 2,000 on hand. Build another 2,000, and then let's put a time frame around it. Let's put 8 months. Okay, 8 months. You want to build to a full level inventory. What does that actually look like? So 2,000 wholesale, 8 months, is an additional 250 wholesale you would be ordering each month on top of your reorder. Remember, you're reordering 50% automatically off the bat based on your sales. And so the additional 250 would be on top of that. And so the 250 you need to order extra for 8 months to build to a full store would need to at least be that 40% left over, percent profit. So if we break down those numbers, you would need to sell 625 retail per month at 250 to be the 40% left over. Okay, so let's break that down. Let's say you sell 625 retail this month. You're going to reorder half of that. That's 312 exact. You're going to set aside 10% for expenses. It's about $62. 50% profit, or what's left over, is 250. And so you take that 250 and add it to your 312. What is that? That's 62.50 wholesale that you'd be reordering, so that you're restocking and building at the same time. Okay, we're building by 250 each month. And just like I said in the other example, to do more with that 40%, or want to do more with that 40%, you would sell more. And so there are people who kind of simultaneously do both, that they'll pay down an investment that they made while building. And that's absolutely possible. It's possible to do 3 things pay down an investment, take some cash for your family. So you can do multiple things with that 40%. It just depends on your priorities and your focus and what your family wants or needs and what you need your Mary Kay business to be for you right now. But you can do anything you want with that money. You just need a plan to do it. Those numbers would be. So let's recap that. You have 2,000 wholesale on your shelf. You want to have a full store in 8 months. So every month of those 8 months, you need to reorder 250 more, which is going to give you over an 8-month time frame, 2,000 additional wholesale on top of what you have. So you sell 625 retail per month. That's only 156 retail per week, which again, for most people, you guys, it's one party a week, if even that. Minimal effort and some minimal time invested to be able to do this. And so what I hope you see with some of these examples, and I'm going to give you one more example, but I want to make this comment first. So what I hope you see is that with some planning, focus, intention, you can tackle a lot of financial goals if you just plan to. Okay? Sometimes we don't have these things. Sometimes we don't feel like we're paying down our investment fast enough, or feel overwhelmed by the amount we have left to pay off, or maybe we don't have a full inventory and it feels impossible to get one, or maybe we don't have the profit we want for our family. We don't have these things not because they're hard to have. These things sometimes because we don't plan to have them. And if you leave your profit from your Mary Kay business just totally up in the air, and if you leave your activity just totally up in the air with no plan, focus, intention, or goal, things that you could easily have, you do not have because you don't plan to have them. And I would love to see in my unit, in my national area, and in Mary Kay as a whole, every consultant and director working with similar plan of what they do with their profit from their sales. Commission checks, we get into a whole nother ballgame, and consultants who are building teams, your commission checks, it's a whole nother conversation. I am just talking about selling the product and profiting from that sale. And you guys imagine everyone having a clear plan like this. Like, I need to hold one party a week so I can do this, this, and this with my money. Or I need to hold 2 parties a week so I can do this, this, and this with my money. I mean, the motivation and the focus that would give you and the winning spirit that would create. You guys, when I logged into my online banking every Sunday night as a consultant to pay off my credit card because I said that I would, that was such a win. It was such a sense of accomplishment. I loved doing that. It was such a victory moment for me to be able to do that. If I got to keep it, because I just had this really clear goal. I told my husband I would pay it off, wanted to take responsibility for that, and just felt like, man, I'm like doing it. I'm making this Mary Kay thing work. I'm making this happen. Look at the money I generated. And I knew I couldn't even keep it. I knew I owed it to the credit card company. But I'm like, look at this cash I generated. It's sitting there in my account so I can use it to take responsibility for a decision I made to invest in a business. And that was like, it felt good. Okay? So we can all create that sense of victory. Have a plan. And what if I didn't have a plan? What if I didn't have a plan? That out. What if I just decided to pay the credit card bill when I happened to see it in the mail? Card bill. Oh yeah, I forgot about that thing. Okay, let's open it up and see what it says. I open it up. Minimum payment due $10. Okay, I got that. I can pay 10. So I pay my 10. And when we operate like that, what comes at us, because that's what most people do with credit cards. It comes at you in the mail and you react to it. Plan or focus or like intentional effort, good plan, because I don't know if you noticed, that's not a good plan to like get the mail and react to it. Instead, I was taking initiative and logging on every Sunday night, even when they weren't telling me I owed them money. And so when we have plans like that, guys, it just sets us up for victory in so many different ways in our Mary Kay business and in our Mary Kay life. So can you imagine everyone having a clear plan? And then the two examples I gave you were kind of like not the super fun ones, not like putting cash in your pocket to pay off an investment and build your inventory, although it's building a successful business, which is great. But it's not like you can go on a shopping spree, which is a little more fun in the moment. And so just imagine when you tackle those goals, that money is just yours. Then it can start getting fun. Planning for a trip to Disney, a poster on your fridge that your kids get to fill in every time you make a sale. To watch you win, they get to watch you build a business, they get to watch you reach goals. Impact that has in their lives. Not only do you get to go to Disney, your kids just watched you win. They watched you work hard. They saw mommy modeling what it looks like to set a goal and work towards a goal and track it and to get it. Lasting impact and benefit that has on their lives. I mean, you can't even put a dollar amount on the value of that. And then you get to start paying your mortgage off early, or then you get to start taking over certain income for the family. You get to go on fun date nights with your husband or plan trips with him. Then it gets really fun. So we got to take care of the business first. Then once that's taken care of, things can really start to get exciting in your financial life, because all of that money can go towards blessing your family in whatever way that would work for you. So I want to go over another example really quickly, you guys, and then we're going to look at some tools. Yeah, let's go over something important. Here, okay. I wanted to cover going to events with your Mary Kay income. I specifically wanted to cover seminar. Although you could apply this to any event that you go to in Mary Kay, seminar is the most expensive one. The others are pretty reasonable and are usually local. Seminar is the one in Dallas that is a little more pricey. And so I wanted to cover what that would look like to make a plan to go to seminar, to be able to go to seminar. And we kind of just go through the same process that we went through in paying down your investment and building a full inventory. And so break it down. I like to break it down over 4 months, like April, May, June, July, or maybe even May, June, July, August, and take 4 months to set aside money and prepare to pay for seminar. And I think on average, it's about $250 extra per month for 4 months. And really, I think that's more than enough. I think that gives you a nice little cushion. I think that gives you some extra to work with, which I would rather you have the little bit of extra than to have it short. So it's $1,000 over 4 months, setting aside $250 or paying for something around $250. And so let's make the $250 your 20% goal for profit. So remember, 40% is your profit or what's left over. Let's make the $250 just 20%, because you've got other things you need to do with your money. Just go to seminar, okay? And then 10% we're gonna, and 10% is gonna build your inventory or your savings. Basically, do you see how we're doing all three? We're setting aside money for seminar, 20%. 10% is going to paying off your investment. Let's say you have invested in inventory. And then 10% is going to maybe build your inventory if you're not at a full store, or if you are, you're just saving it towards your family. So the 20 plus 10 plus 10 is 40. That's the 40 that's left over. So we're doing multiple things here. So for that 250 to be 20% of what's left over, you would need to do $1,200 in retail sales, actually $1,250 to be exact, in retail sales per month. 50% of that would be your reorder, $625. That would be for expenses, $125. And remember, 10% we're putting towards our investment, 25 going towards that. And then another 10% is going towards either building our inventory or just to our family. It's another 125. And that leaves 20% left, which is 250. 1,250 retail, 1,250 retail per month allows you to do all those things. And that's how the numbers break down. And so that's essentially selling $300, 313 retail per week. Most people can do that in 2 parties, if not less. Your variables. And so with a couple parties a week, you're maintaining your business. You're setting money aside for expenses, your investment that you made. You're building an inventory or saving it, or it's going towards your family for seminar with your Mary Kay money. We're doing all of that on probably what's taking you about 10 hours a week. It's your part-time little side job. Yeah, so I just wanted to run through that example again to show you and to make a point that there's so much possible with even the most minimal part-time effort. There's so much that we could do with our Mary Kay profits and our Mary Kay money. And there's so much that we can accomplish. And then you break down those expenses over 4 months. So you register 1 month, you buy your plane ticket the next month, you cover your incidental expenses like food and entertainment when you're there the next month, and then you pay for your hotel room when you check out. And you're able to do all of that without ever dipping into your personal finances. Now, I will say, and this is a little side note, that you haven't built your business to that level, or for whatever reason, you're not in a place to be able to hold those parties right now, or maybe you don't have 4 months left to save and pay for seminar. This is the one time that I just say, figure it out. And if you're paying for it personally, just figure it out. And that's because of the value I place on seminar. That's where I had my turning point. That's where I went from kind of being very nonchalant about Mary Kay and paying off my credit card was really, I went from that to being like all in for Mary Kay. Like, boom, we're doing this, I'm all in. And showed up. So went to that seminar, not all in, kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Went to seminar, both hands in, my heart over the line for doing Mary Kay. And then the next year I showed up as a Cadillac sales director making a 6-figure income. And I did not have the money to go to seminar. To this day, I don't even really know how I paid for it. Probably could look back at some credit card statements and figure it out, but I just found a way and I paid for it. And I'm sure it was partly with personal money, because it wasn't something I was planning for. I didn't have this nice little $250 a month plan that I'm giving to you right now. So I just found a way, made a way. And I so strongly believe in the investment of seminar that, like, if you got to put it on a personal credit card, be there, because worth to you. 7 years later, seminar and picked up my $1 million plaque, $1 million in commissions. And so investment, the $800 or so that it cost me to go to seminar, where I just figured it out, was worth $1 million commissions to me, because it's at seminar that everything changed, and it was a major catalyst to really building my business. Okay. So that's why I say just freaking figure it out and get to seminar. And really that applies to every Mary Kay event. So, okay, let's go through some more tools here. What I hope will allow you to actually do the 60-40 split. And it's an Excel spreadsheet that does some thinking for us, to everyone. Okay. All right, you guys, this is an Excel spreadsheet. You can download this and save this on your computer. The formulas are already in there. You just like plug it in and do what it says. You do what the document tells you to do with your money. So let's just go through an example. Oh, you are screen sharing. You guys are seeing that, right? I'm not looking at the right one. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so you guys are looking at an Excel spreadsheet here. Let's go through the example. Real order. Her name was Kate, actually, Kate Rich. She's a customer of mine. Why don't we just type her name in there? Kate Rich. She bought a mascara, Ultimate Mascara, for $15, and the tax came out to $15.97. So I collected $15.97. So this is where you put in the money you collected, including tax, and a possible shipping charge. I know some of you charge your customers a flat shipping rate, some of you don't, so add it in there. It's basically the total amount you collected from her in cash or check. We're going to cover credit cards in just a minute, but she wrote me a check for $15.97. The total retail value of the product was $15. If I would have given her a discount, or this would have been a hostess credit, let's say I gave her a $5 gift card, you guys, that would have made this number $10.97. Retail value would still be $15. Okay, the retail value is just the retail value of the product, but I would have collected less because I gave her that gift card. So let's say, yeah, and so really the retail value was higher than what you would have collected had you given her the gift card. So that's important to note that on your sales tickets, that you mark down when you're giving a discount or a gift card or hostess credit or a free something, free giveaway. You want to note that on the gift card, but still know the total retail value, because that impacts your reorder. Because you see over here, the reorder is $7.50. Sell a mascara, you need to reorder a mascara. You $7.50 to reorder a mascara. That's why these two numbers are going to be important to know, regardless of what the transaction total was. Let's go to the next one. This is retail amount given away for a prize or a hostess credit. Give her anything for free, okay? But had I given her, let's say, a $5 off the retail amount that I gave her, card, okay, but I didn't give her anything. Sales tax collected, it's pretty self-explanatory. Unrecovered sales tax, let's say I would have thrown in an eyeshadow for free. So that free eyeshadow taxed her on. And so it would have been that free eyeshadow times, I think her tax rate was 6.5. Covered sales tax for that free eyeshadow I gave her. That's where you would enter that there. And you got your 50% reorder amount, which is just half of the retail value of the product that was given to her, and your 5% and your 5% here. And so 5% you're going to keep in the same account with this $7.50, because these two amounts are going to be spent in one transaction. Buying that mascara, and you're going to also need part of that to cover your shipping and any Section 2 that you need to stock up on. So that stays in the same account because it's going to go away in one transaction. 5%, ideally, okay, ideally this goes into another checking account to keep it separate so that when expenses come up, you've got it sitting there. Was it a customer delivery service order? No, it was not. And so 0, because I dropped it off to her at school. Had it been, you would enter 575. See how that affects your profit there. Okay, no, it was not customer delivery service, because with CDS, that shipping just comes right off the top. Pay for it with just that one transaction, versus when you do your reorder, you're reordering a lot of things once. CDS is a little bit different. I do only recommend customer delivery service on larger orders. Because of that. So I entered 0 because it wasn't CDS, and then my profit, 40% or what's left over. Because let's say this was CDS. You just have 25 cents to work with because you paid a lot of shipping on just one product. So you see how this is what's left over? Because this expense came out of your 40% profit or what's left over. Back to 0. And you've got your profit, what's left over, which again, you transfer to a separate account. Using it to build your inventory, you can keep it or a part of it in there because it's going to go in the same, it's going to leave that account in the same transaction the account in. So you could leave it there if you're using it to build your inventory. You need to move it if you're doing it for something separate. And then let's go look down here. Down at the bottom, you have totals. Comes time to reorder, and it comes time to do your transfers. The formulas are set up, so you don't have to guess. It's just going to tell you. It's going to tell you the amount that you need to do for each of these different categories, and it's going to tell you where the money needs to go and where it needs to live. Also, another thing about this worksheet, down at the very, very bottom, underneath totals, you're going to see different sheets. And so this is for 2017, the calendar year of 2017. You're going to make a new one of these sheets for every single month. And that's how we're going to keep it organized, is that it's going to go monthly. And so you would just open up a new one every month. This could possibly replace weekly accomplishments for you, but I want you to check with your director, because she may want you to still fill out weekly accomplishments, because the nice thing about that is we get reports when our consultants do that. And then we get to do recognition and recognize our consultants for turning in their orders and tracking their sales. Stop doing that if your director recognizes you for doing it. But if you needed it to, this could be all your records you need for taxes without doing weekly accomplishments, because it covers every number that you need to be able to adequately do taxes. Now I want to briefly look at the ProPay one. Okay, I'm back, but let's pull up the ProPay, because ProPay is a little different. Absolutely have to go through that example. So bear with me. Let me pull this up. To do ProPay. Excel spreadsheet, where are you? Here you are. Almost there, you guys. ProPay, okay. Everyone. Okay. So here's the ProPay one, and it's pretty much the same thing, you guys. Same thing, except that you've got your ProPay fee that we need to keep track of, and it's just in a separate account. Oh, here's JC. Here was the money she gave me. She gave it to me on a credit card. And so I didn't put this $86.12 in until I knew the ProPay fee. transaction total minus the ProPay fee off the top. Here in Maggie's order, I happened to put the ProPay fee in there. It was $2.35. And so that $72.33 was the number after that $2.35 came off of the top. And I did not charge her shipping. And so JC here with her $86.12, that was her number after the ProPay fee came out. You can see that right away, or just wait a day for it to process. But you can easily look up the fee. Now, the total retail value of her products, you guys, was $107, then $86.12, because I gave her a $25 gift card for coming to an event. That affects these numbers and how important it is to keep track of them. Okay, we've got our sales tax. I didn't recover sales tax. And then my reorder amount, you see, is not based on this number. It's based on this number. Okay, it's based on the total retail value of the products I gave her. I'm going to reorder just half of that. You've got your expenses broken down. It was not a CDS order after everything else is accounted for. Maggie, we got her amount, total retail value. I didn't give her anything for free. I recovered all the sales tax. Here's her reorder amount, exactly half of the retail value, because I didn't give her, there's nothing I gave her at a discount. There's the expenses I would set aside, and it was a customer delivery service order. So it takes it from that profit. So I made a note here that this was 31% profit of this. So let's put this at 0. Increases that amount. $5.75. It decreases it. Okay, so that you see how that shipping kind of cut into your profit. And so if you just did 40% of the retail, you would have the wrong number. It says 40% are what's left over, because you want to know what's left over from the transaction after you cover all of these categories. Okay, and again, you've got your totals on the bottom, and you have got the months of the year. Okay. All right, so those are your tools that you're going to use. Give it some time. Like with anything, there's going to be a little learning curve. So it might take a couple of transactions or a couple of weeks or a couple of months to really master it, but use them faithfully and diligently. And I think it's going to help bring a lot of clarity to where your Mary Kay money needs to go. And so let me close with a few things. By the way, those are downloadable on my website, and all you would need to do is save them, and the formulas are already in there for you. And I just want to make sure I'm covering everything, and I am. So here's the last thing we're going to go over as we wrap this baby up. This is a flow chart that I drew that I will eventually have made professionally. I'm going to have my graphic design girl make this look really good. Here we go. I'm going to try to make this make sense. So here we go at the top. Money, money, money. Yay, you're making money. Okay, where does it go? Where does it live? What do you do with it? And so you've got your main checking at Mary Kay checking, you've got ProPay. Remember those 2 Excel spreadsheets that we had? There's a circle for each of them, because that's where the money is starting. That's where it goes first. It's either going into your ProPay account or you're depositing checks and cash into your Mary Kay checking, your main checking. So what stays there is your 5% for expenses plus reorders. So 50% plus 5%. You order what you sold, and you're covering your shipping in your section 2. Here. What leaves this account would be 5% expenses. I think it's important to keep those separate so that when expenses come up, you've got money sitting in this checking account. And how I have it done is that it's still under my business checking, but then you can create multiple accounts, separate accounts, and name them different things. You can name them whatever you want. So when you log into your checking, I can easily make a transfer from here to here under the same umbrella at my credit union. Set that up. And then 40% coming out. Remember, 40% are what's left over. We need to pull this out of here too. Unless the only way it would stay here, or maybe part of it would stay here, is if you're using it to build your inventory. Otherwise, you're pulling it out of there so it's separate. Use this account to pay off your inventory. So when you log onto your credit card online or your loan, if not here, but that payment's coming out of here because it's separate. Okay. Let's go to ProPay. Easiest to use it directly for your reordering plus 5%, your 5% for expenses. And so, okay, so let's say it's time to reorder, and you have your order ready to go, and you go to checkout, and it's going to say you have X amount of money in your ProPay. Now, you may not be able to use all of that. It depends on what your sheets are telling you, your Excel spreadsheets, and you do what the sheet tells you to do. And you only enter the dollar amount that you need for your reorder and your 5%. The rest of it, you guys, you're moving over here and here. You're moving to one of two places. You're moving the expenses over 5%. You're moving what's left over, the profit, the 40%. Same account that it's coming from for your checking. Okay? The only way I would use all of what's in my ProPay is if using the 40%, all of it, to rebuild my inventory. Then you can just use it directly because you know that's how you're using that money. So that's kind of where the money flows. And if you just have this going on, or this and this, with these other accounts, I think there's, when you separate it out and name the checking accounts different things, then it helps you to keep track of it a little bit better. To this being a little more professional than it is right now. And may we all go out and create wealth and add value and create a future and a legacy for our family using our Mary Kay business as the vehicle. God bless you guys. I'll see you later.